Now on Eurosport, cars you see on the road every day, but you've never seen them go like this. It's the FIA European Touring Car Championship.
With Blue, the sports shock absorbers specialist.
Welcome to round 4 of the LG Super Racing Weekends. Half an hour from Madrid in Spain. It's the circuit of Jarama that plays host to round 7 and 8 of the European Touring Car Championship. And like Brno, it's tight, twisty and demanding. Hard to believe that the Jarama circuit was a Grand Prix venue in the height of the turbo era for Formula One, but it was tightly demanding with lots of changes, not at all dissimilar to Brno where we were a fortnight ago. Lots of famous names on this, lots of famous names on the corners, and lots of famous overtaking opportunities. Well, if you are a little bit aggressive, that is. However, the driver's saying that even the main straight is too short and bumpy to really make this much of an overtaking circuit, so it could get boisterous. Well, let's have a look then in the bright summer sunshine of this Sunday, the 2nd of June in Spain, and what happened in race 1 of the Touring Car Championship at Jarama. As you can see, the Nordauto Alphas starting on the front row of the grid, Fabrizio Giovanardi and Nicola Larini. Right behind them, an all BMW row 2, the Schnitzer boys, Jörg and Dirk Müller. And on, well, should have been on row 2, Rickard Rydell, but he was on the back row of the grid because the team damaged an engine, testing it at Millbrook before they came to Spain, and they were forced to change it. And the rule is you're only allowed to change an engine every other race, and the Volvo, as a result, having to start from the back row of the grid. Well, as you can see, lots of quick dry down from somebody's blow-up early on will make that a very demanding section. And the Alphas a little bit worried about the start because the BMWs right behind them do get away quicker. James Hansen 7th, the other Volvo S60, looking for points here again as he got in both the races in Brno. And behind them there's the big privateer, if you like, BMW Alpha battle. Leading down to Gianni Morbidelli, who's very worried about his performance. He was saying after qualifying, he said, I'm starting with the safety car only just behind me. I really don't know what's going on. Well, away from the lights, watch the Schnitzer BMWs try to A, avoid each other, and B, out-drag the Alphas. They've got past Larini, but can Jörg Müller out-drag Giovanardi? He's on the inside line into the first corner. The lead is his. Dirk Müller, his teammate, they would hope to have got through, but he's down in 4th place. That's Salvatore Tavano, and still dreadful trouble for the Honda Civic Type Rs. Neither of them have actually completed a full session without dramas. Rickard Rydell working his way back up the order. That's Romano Bernardoni on the right. Just in front, Gianni Morbidelli. And we're looking on board with Giovanardi at Jörg Müller, the leader for Schnitzer BMW. BMW with Jörg Müller led a Brno in race 2, but yet to win a race. The Alpha still has the power advantage. BMW buoyed up by the presence of motorsport chief Gerhard Berger here this weekend. And look at the dust off the concrete. Organisers trying desperately to mop up that enormous oil spill, which is about halfway round the track. Whoever drove all the way back to the pits deserves to have a very healthy engine rebuild bill, because the engine was clearly running on no oil whatsoever in that previous race. So Jörg Müller then under pressure from Giovanardi, Larini, then Dirk Müller. 5th place is Paolo Ruberti, the best of the Alphas. Broke a gearbox before the second practice session. Team changed it, and he said the second one was even worse than the first one. It was jumping out of second gear, which is bad news in the Le Mans corner. And the double right-hander there at Monza, probably not too much fun either. He's having to hold the gear in with his right hand as he steers with his left, of course, in the left-hand drive car. Now Giovanardi on the front straight. Looks like a long, healthy front straight with a downhill run onto it as well from tunnel turn. But the driver's saying that's compromised because there's such a long braking area, because it's so bumpy and ripply, the tarmac, into the first turn. And that means you have to be alongside early, and Giovanardi wasn't. Müller leads after 1 lap. and Dirk Muller in 4th place. Further back, James Hansen down to 12th place in the opening lap from 7th on the grid. He'll be very disappointed with that. He and Tom Ferrier in the Edenbridge cars had a bit of a trying time here last year in the Edenbridge BMWs in the European Super Production Series. Tom Ferrier, of course, also racing this year, racing the Alfa Romeo Team GP entry. And look at Giovanardi up the hill. That's where the power of the Alfa really plays into his hands, up the Pegaso incline, but he doesn't get it done before Ascari, and now it's downhill, down into the unnamed long right-hand hairpin. Well, not hairpin exactly, but 180-degree corner. Still plunging downhill. This is very quick as well, over the brow into Bugatti. Great pictures here, down through the left-hander, and then heavy braking down into Peggio. And Giovanardi, knowing that if he didn't get ahead at the front, he will, at the start of the race, he would have a really tough time reeling in the BMWs. He said, we saw at Brno just how good they are in the twisty stuff. The BMW 3 Series chassis, he feels, has got a bit of an advantage in the tight and twisty stuff, but then he's got a better engine. And there is Luis Villamil. Very major disappointment for the Spaniard in his Alfa Romeo, out after just 2 laps, or less than 2 laps. So on board on the front straight, Giovanardi's going to go around the outside. He have to, there's no option there. Jörg Muller will certainly not give him the inside line. Can't see Muller, but wait for him to reappear as we get into the braking area on the inside, Jörg Muller, and Giovanardi has no way through there. Giovanardi at least will be safe from attack from behind at the moment because it's his teammate Larini, and unless Gio makes a big mistake, Larini will not try and punt his way through. Dirk Muller dropping back in 4th into the clutches of Ruberti, and the Volvo's struggling outside of the points at the moment.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live.
With KW, the sports shock absorbers specialist.
Everyone needs their own space. That's why on the Airbus A340, there's no middle seat in business class.
A drop.
An oil drop.
A drop that works and wins. A likable, inexhaustible drop.
A drop that protects.
That leaps. A drop that loves, that travels.
A drop that aims high.
FL Selenia, fluids and lubricants.
And who records your favorite TV program? The digital video recorder from LG. Makes time delay viewing easy. On a screen extremely thin and extremely wide. Because life's too short to waste time. LG, digitally yours.
3 laps to go. You're leading by 4.5 seconds.
I got an oil pressure alarm.
Copy that. Stand by.
The BMW Williams F1 team now relies on compact Reliant servers with Intel Xeon processors and compact global services
It's solved.
Thanks, guys.
to fix the car even during the race. Technical problems shouldn't decide the outcome of the race, but the driver and the team should. So what can Compact do for your business?
Passengers for gate 19, please.
Passengers for gate 20, please.
Airbus A340s have the quietest, most comfortable cabins in the sky.
Gate 20, please.
So we can understand your reluctance to board anything else.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live.
Welcome back to Harama, race 7 in the European Touring Car Championship. And Jörg Muller holding off the Italian Fabrizio Giovanardi. Muller from 3rd spot on the grid, getting a great start into the lead at the first corner. Giovanardi around the outside though, and will he make it stick? It goes right again. Jörg Muller has the chance to fight back, and he must do. He must get his tail in front of Giovanardi's nose before they get up the hill, because then the Alfa will motor away, but he is compromised off the racing line. Giovanardi takes the lead yet again. 5 wins from 6 starts, 4 poles from the 4 weekends so far for Fabrizio Giovanardi. Almost everything going copybook and according to plan. The only fly in the ointment, a win for Nicola Larini in round 4 at Silverstone. And now Jörg Müller up the hill under pressure from Larini. Giovanardi will drive away on the power parts of the circuit, up the hill, downhill and through the twisty stuff. The BMW, well, I don't think he'll close much on him. He will definitely try and limit the damage, though, and hold back Nicola Larini onto the front straight. It's an interesting shot. An empty Le Mans corner with the picture in the cutaway of Giovanardi, and courtesy of that very tastefully done rubbish piece of directing, we miss Larini going past into second place. Well, it's always good to see directors try something new. Normally, though, you try and do it during qualifying or practice where nobody's watching and not on live broadcasts. But hey, what do I know? After all, I'm not a director. So, I hope you will stick with us for the rest of the race. Nord Auto Alpha's first and second, Schnitzer BMW's third and fourth, and as they were on the grid. The only difference being that Dirk Müller is fourth and Jörg Müller is third, which is the reverse of their situation in qualifying. Behind them, we should have Paolo Roberti and Luis Villamil. Roberti's yellow car is still there. Villamil, of course, the Spaniard in the Alpha we have seen retire, and he's been a bit disappointed with his inability to quite find the perfect setup to get among the GTA Nord Auto cars. Behind them, Coronel, Cox, Ekblom, all BMW mounted. De Simone as well, the Italian in his BMW. Now 7 laps into the race, and the Volvo's still struggling. As we've seen Giovanardi prove, it is a tough track to overtake on. But once the damage is done on Muller's tyres from defending so hard early on, Giovanardi was able to use that little leverage of speed, get around the outside into the first turn, and full marks to Giovanardi. It wasn't just a point and squirt get by operation. He sat around the outside, really braved it out. So Giovanardi with Larini right behind him, riding shotgun. Situation normal then. Again, I have to say, looking at just the grid sheet and just the result sheet from any of these races, you would say, well, it's been pretty much uncompromising Alpha whitewash or red wash, but it certainly hasn't. These two guys particularly have been really impressive in their battles with the Alfa Romeos. Gerhard Berger here backing up the fact that this is a proper BMW factory car, not necessarily just the Schnitzer cars, but the European touring car effort as a whole. And whether it's with Schnitzer customer team, with the Ravaglia customer team, with the Isert Kali customer team, or any of the others, the BMW engineers are certainly concentrating on trying to find more power. Jörg Müller saying that the engineers have told him it is very difficult indeed to get any more power out of the engine. That doesn't mean that they won't try. Boy, they need to. Well, there is Roberti, 5th place, so Alpha's 1, 3 and 5 at the moment. And Paolo Roberti getting closer to the Nord Auto setup. He's struggled, as I said, with that gearbox problem in practice, but he's finding that the car is much improved. And what they discovered was that the front camber was all, well, not all over the place, but certainly very wrong for the car. And I think the only way they've discovered this is possibly a little bit of visual measuring of the Nord Auto cars, but also a bit of testing. They've changed the front camber angle on Roberti's car, and he said it's transformed it. Incidentally, Rickard Rydell will be the envy of the rest of the paddock, or the Volvo drivers will as well. Rickard's main complaint after practice, apart from obviously being sent from 5th fastest to the back of the grid to start the race because of that engine change, the car, he said, has got too much grip from the tyres. Now, I don't think there's anybody else complaining about that. Certainly not the Alpha drivers complaining about understeer in the heat from their hard-worked front tyres. And it's the left tyre that works hardest here. As you can see here again, predominantly lots of demanding left-hand corners. It's quite a tricky track to get to grips with as well. Lots of elevation changes. There's barely a corner that's on the flat. And here again through Bugatti, a perfect example of that. Down into the hairpin at Peggio, and starting to climb once more, and it's the elevation changes that really undo the BMWs here. If it was dead flat like Silverstone or Magny-Cours, they might have been able to hold on out front a little closer, a little longer rather. But in third and fourth, Jürg and Dirk Müller. Dirk Müller in third place in the championship standings at the moment will want to get past Jürg Müller. Jürg equally will want to start to redress the balance of points between himself and his teammate. That's what Nicola Larini hopes to do with Giovanardi as well. Little chance of that happening. At the moment, I think perhaps Dirk Müller will just hold station rather than ruin a BMW 3-4 and then have to go back and sheepishly explain to Gerhard Berger exactly what on earth it was he thought he was doing. Top Spaniard, Jordi Gené, in sixth position now in the Team Spain BMW. And, well, not the greatest, but it's points at least for him.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live. With LG Electronics, digitally yours.
Whether you're on a straight or a twisted road, Kumho's always ready for the unexpected. Design technology, Kumho.
And who goes shopping? The refrigerator? And who operates the air conditioner when it gets hot? Anyone? Because life's too short to waste time. LG, digitally yours.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live.
With KW, the sports shock absorbers specialist.
Fabrizio Giovanardi leading the race after 10 laps. Nicola Larini, his teammate, 1.3 seconds further back, but look how far the BMWs are being dropped. 5 seconds adrift of the leader. Ruberti a further 4 seconds back on him. And well clear, luckily in his terms, of that battle of the BMWs behind him. Well, here are the Nord Auto cars. Little to choose between the Schnitzer BMWs behind the yellow car of Ruberti, and it looks as though Coronel has broken free of the rest of the BMWs. Tom Coronel, the Dutch driver, of course. He is in sixth position at the moment. Well, Jürgen Dirk Müller. No team battle between them, and Dirk just dropping back a second or so off Jürg Müller's pace to allow them both plenty of space to breathe. They're not close enough to the Alphas to hassle them. They're not close enough to the Alphas to take advantage of any problems for the red cars, unless they're major. But it does mean that in these closing stages, they are not going to run into each other. Larini a little closer to the tail of Giovanardi, but not enough. Again, unless Giovanardi flops in a major manner. And, well, the Volvos hoping for so much here after running at the front of the field in Brno, dropping down the order at the start and coming from the back, respectively, James Hansen and Ricard Rydell. And I think whatever else happens between the pair of them, it will be honours even. Now, here's a good little battle, 5 and 10. And this is in the BMW midfield, Jordi Gené from Freddie Ekblom. The Spaniard ahead of the Swede. Spain and Sweden, of course, in different World Cup qualifying groups, but I'm sure that Ekblom would have been delighted with Sweden's second half performance when he gets to watch it on the TV, as much as he would be disappointed with their first half performance. Both of them racing for the BMW Team Spain outfit. No, I beg your pardon. Genet racing for Spain. There you are. It's yellow, red and black, Marty, you thickie, because it's the Belgian importer that is running or sponsoring or paying for Freddie Ekblom's car. So Fabrizio Giovanardi, last lap of the race. Giovanardi has not put a foot wrong, it's fair to say. Got the very best of his car from the start. You could witness that by virtue of the fact that only one of the BMWs behind got ahead of him. And Ekblom around the outside into the first turn, through Nuvolari, through Fangio as well, still there, with Jordi Genet battling for that position. That's good fun going on there. Further up the hill, though, way out of Pegaso and up to the Ascari chicane, which is less a chicane and more a fast sort of flick-flack, goes the race leaders. And replay here, Genet on the inside, Ekblom on the outside. Genet buoyed up by the Spanish fans, no question. But Freddie Ekblom sitting right with him, giving it good around the outside as it gets. Good stuff from the Swede. Well, in the Volvo camp, of course, England 1, Sweden 1 is going to be their result as well. Both of them running towards the back of the field, though, neither of them looking like winners. My goodness, shades of the World Cup there as well. Well, I'm sure an awful lot of TVs in the paddock are watching the football from Spain and Korea, from Japan and Korea, but all eyes at the moment on the Nordauto Alphas, at least from anybody in a red shirt. And out of the final tunnel turn comes Fabrizio Giovanardi downhill towards the start-finish line to take win 6 from 7 starts, and yet again the bridesmaid Nicola Larini seems destined to fulfill that role. Another 1-2 for this woman, for Monica Sips, and again the team performing faultlessly. Schnitzer BMW's 3rd and 4th, Paolo Roberti 5th place, and in 6th place, I think that was Tom Coronel in 6th place in the Team GB BMW. So Giovanardi, well, things could hardly have gone better for him, except perhaps the Azzurra might have won their game. So Giovanardi then from Larini, Italians 1st and 2nd, the Germans in the BMWs, Jürg and Dirk Müller 3rd and 4th, ahead of Paolo Roberti in his Alfa, and then Peter Cox heading up the next bunch, Ricardo Rydell, James Hansen 10th and 11th. Well, there you are, that's the action from the first race. Cars already mustering for race 2, so stay with us here on Eurosport. The World Cup soccer is over for the evening. As they head to bed in Japan and Korea, we've still got plenty more excitement to come from Jarama. The Spanish out around the circuit in numbers to watch this second race in the European Touring Car Championship. Weather could not be better. We'll be back after these short messages.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live with
Yokohama, power of performance.
Out here, good is never good enough. That's why the BMW Williams F1 team relies on the compact Evo N600C notebook with mobile Intel Pentium 3 processor M to make real-time adjustments that save valuable time. Because out here, if you want to win, you should never be satisfied. So what can compact do for your business?
And who records your favorite TV program? the digital video recorder from LG. Makes time-delay viewing easy. On a screen extremely thin and extremely wide, because life's too short to waste time. LG, digitally yours.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live.
Welcome back to Jarama. This is race 8 of the FIA European Touring Car Championship for 2002. Cars on the grid being cleared. 3-minute warning board is being given to the crews to clear the group. And here's how the championship looks. Giovanardi striding away from Larini. Dirk Muller still third. Jörg now up to fourth. Rydell and Hansen, no points changing with them. Paolo Roberti joining them on 5 points apiece, ahead of Freddie Ekblom, Lewis Villamil and Tom Coronel. So it is, in fact, the number 7 car of Tom Coronel who is on pole position. Fabrizio Giovanardi, the race 1 winner, back in 6th spot as the top 6 from race 1 are reversed on the grid for race 2.
Because it's very hot here.
Yes, it's hard, and we have to conserve the tires because it's easy to push in the first 2 laps and then finish the tires. So we have to be quiet at the first half part of the race.
Thank you very much.
So Fabrizio Giovanardi, I think perhaps underlining what happened to Jörg Muller early on. Jörg Muller, don't forget, leading the first race from row 2 of the grid, out-dragging Giovanardi and Larini's Alphas on the front row and taking the lead into the first corner. But I do feel maybe to defend, he was having to push a little harder than he would have liked early on, and the tyres in the end perhaps giving up on him a little earlier than he needed them to. This is Nicola Larini, starts in 5th spot. He was 2nd in race 1. And last year, you'll remember, in the Super Touring, they reversed the entire grid. This year, the feeling in this Touring Car Championship is that there's not so much difference between fastest and slowest, maybe excepting the 2 Hondas, which really are struggling, but the quicker and the slower cars, and it would be really detrimental to the championship to start the leaders right at the very back, because they'd never work their way through. So what they're doing is reversing the top half dozen. There's Jörg Muller. You just saw him having a chat with Charlie Lamb, the Schnitzer team boss. And Jörg Muller and Dirk Muller, of course, started on row 2 for race 1, start on row 2 for race 2. In fact, in exactly the same order, because they were 3rd and 4th respectively, and Dirk therefore starts ahead of Jörg, who was 3rd. Dirk was 4th. The difference being the Nordauto Alphas are behind them this time, not in front. The problem for the Schnitzer drivers is Paolo Roberti's Alpha out front and Tom Coronel on pole position, because Coronel will get a good start. They'll have to get past both of them, past Roberti, and hope that Roberti can hold off the Nordauto guys. There's no reason why Paolo will let them through. He doesn't race for that team. He doesn't want them to get by. The Team GB car on pole position, Tom Coronel fighting his way up through the stiff midfield Alpha BMW battle into 6th position in the Carlin Motorsport Team Iseat car. Heinz Iseat's car on pole position for the first time all season, and the Team GB driver Tom Coronel, Dutch though he may be, carrying the colours of BMW GB Limited from Bracknell, is on pole position. He should start well as well. The BMWs launch with everybody else. As with everybody else, the weight going onto the back wheels. The difference, of course, for the BMWs is that they are rear drive cars, and that's the wheel that's scrabbling for traction. The difference with the front drive cars is, of course, that it unsettles or lightens the front end and prevents quite such efficient traction off the line. A little bit more wheel spin, which means you can't use as much horsepower to get you started. Well, let's have a look then at this Jarama track. As I say, one of the big turbo era battles between the normally aspirated cars and the turbocharged cars here at Jarama, with Gilles Villeneuve's Ferrari doing all the damage. And it's a long time ago, 20 years since that was the case. This is no longer a Grand Prix venue, and you just can't imagine a modern Formula 1 car around this track. 3.8 kilometers, very tight twisting, lots of elevation changes, lots of difficult corners as well. So let's get ourselves underway then. Cars ready to go on the warm-up lap. And this circuit of Jarama, just around half an hour from Madrid, the capital of Spain, and a perfect venue for attracting a big crowd. Last year in September we were here for the first visit of the Super Racing Weekend, and here back in the heat of the early summer in June. Temperatures considerably higher, and that means even more tyre wear. See the Volvo there, just tucking out from the right-hand side, and that will be James Hansen's nose. Rickard Rydell is on the right-hand side of the picture. Hansen on the right-hand side of the track, I should have said, rather than on the picture. Oh, and Tom Coronel stalling on pole position. Lots of heat sink building up in the cars after their run out from the pits. And yeah, he does get going. Okay, hands up. I have no idea whether that makes any difference, should make any difference, won't make any difference. I don't know. Maybe he will be allowed to start from pole. Maybe he will be forced to start from the back of the grid. Afraid I can't tell you. There go the two Volvos through the shot, and right at the back, Tommy Rustad having a wretched season in the RJN Nissan Primera. Really, the only luck they've had has been bad luck, and it's got to turn soon. Really needs to for their continued sanity. Running on a shoestring scraped free of all the string, that pair. Okay, so the grid with Rydell 10th, Hansen 11th. I was had in my head they were 9th and 10th, so it was Rydell's nose that was poking out. Tom Ferrier down in 13th in the Team GB Alfa Romeo, and that's a shame for him. Salvatore Tavano in 18th spot. And I think Tommy Rustad, although you didn't see him on the grid, will be behind Tavano's Honda Civic on the lineup in 19th and last position. So Giovanardi then, 6th position, and you'd think up against it, but we've seen that the Alphas have still got the power to outrun their rivals, and with the hills here, the elevation changes will play in their favour. There is Tom Ferrier in the Alfa Romeo Great Britain car, and not having as good a weekend as he has had in the series. Again, being impressed with his speed and performance. Disappointed to lose the car at Beckett's in the on the opening lap of the British race, round 2 of the championship in race 3 of the series, and spin out. And there's Romana Bernardoni, her car. Oh, now how ironic is this? The first looks like a gearbox problem for a Nord Auto Alfa. Of course, it's not Giovanardi or Larini, is it? And everybody else will be going, I don't believe it. First Nord Auto gearbox in competition. Manicourt, they were in trouble in practice. They'd been in trouble throughout the winter. Now she's down. We're just being told through our headsets that the car will not start, but I have to say, doesn't look that way to me. Maybe they're saying it can't start, not it will not start the race. Started. Potentially they were looking at a starter motor then, rather than something in the gear linkage system. There is Salvatore Tavano, who just saw going through the shot towards the back of the grid, and as this grid winds its way sinuously, the 42 door open on Jörg Müller's car as the Nord Auto Alfa mechanics get a little ripple of applause for starting the number 3 car and heading it out. It will start last from the pit lane, but that won't worry or please the BMW teams particularly. Romana Bernardoni will be the red Alfa behind the red Alfa safety car as they head away at the start. Round 8 of the FIA European Touring Car Championship for 2002 cars making their way onto the grid. James Hansen and Tom Ferrier in the Alfa, and the Volvo in front of it, you just saw making their way across onto their sides of the grid. And last to form up will be Tommy Rustad in the blue Nissan. From the back of the grid will come Romana Bernardoni from the pits, but it's Tom Coronel on the right, on pole in the Team Great Britain BMW. On the left-hand side, Paolo Ruberti in the yellow Alfa Romeo. Will it be the Dutchman or the Italian that leads? But more importantly, for the Nord Auto team, will both Schnitzer cars get past Ruberti? Away they go. Coronel, too much wheel spin. Look at the launch, though, from the Schnitzer cars. Can't get around Ruberti up the middle. They're going for the inside line, and that will mean that only one of them will get through. Jörg Müller on the left. Dirk Müller will have to go around on the outside, and Tom Coronel blew that, I'm afraid, away from the start. Way too much wheel spin for the Dutch driver. And here comes Giovanardi, and already Ruberti with a big lead because the confusion behind him. And down the inside, Larini trying to push his way through past one of the BMWs. Now, this is no-holds-barred action. Larini's in front of Giovanardi and must capitalise. Off goes one of the Volvos. Was that Hansen or Rydell? I don't know, but what's Rustad doing up there? Rustad in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th place from 19th on the grid. What a start he had. Astonishing stuff. BMWs mixing it with Alfa Romeos. Now, this is what we want to see a lot more of. Really close match racing. Ruberti out front. Jörg Müller now in 3rd place. Dirk Müller in 2nd. Larini 4th. We're with Giovanardi in 5th place. Time to gasp for breath for a moment as we climb the rise now and then descend the leader at least down through Bugatti out of Portago. Ruberti leads. It is 43. That's Dirk Müller, who did get ahead of Jörg Müller into the first corner. And the problem with both Schnitzer BMWs trying to go inside Ruberti was that neither made it, and there was not room on the inside line for both of them. They nearly were out-fumbled by Larini's Alfa, and only a resilient defence by Jörg Müller kept Larini behind. Now, problems for Giovanardi. Ruberti is going to win this one unless his car fails on. He is miles ahead. Ruberti leads at the end of lap 1. Dirk Müller 2nd, Jörg Müller 3rd, Larini and Giovanardi. Well, around the outside, I was rather hoping that the director would not follow the leader and allow us to see the battle for 2nd, a 4-way battle for 2nd place. Here's Giovanardi making the move on Larini. Larini tried to push his way past Jörg Müller. It didn't happen. Giovanardi comes by him. Larini staying well clear. Giovanardi. Whoa, Giovanardi still in 5th. Looks to the inside of Larini, though. And over the curbs he goes. Holds it all together, but only just. BMW right behind him, going off into the dirt. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to that battle. Didn't see who it was. Giovanardi still in 5th. Peter Cox in 6th place. Will have moved up 1, I think, because I imagine it was Coronel. No, don't know. Tough to tell, because both BMWs have got Union flags on the roof. Both these BMWs with German flags on the roof. It's the BMW Germany team, the Schnitzer, AC Schnitzer team, and both the Nordauto Alphas with the Alfa Romeo crest on the roof. Not a factory team, though, obviously. So theoretically really should have the Italian tricolore on the top, but doesn't. So Paolo Ruberti out front has got the tricolore on top. And Giovanardi, now, what's the plot for Giovanardi? Calm down for a lap or two, maybe. Stick with it and then work on Larini later. Let Ruberti go. He's nowhere in the championship. Doesn't matter. Giovanardi has got to allow his tyres to settle, not to become too destroyed by the early shenanigans, and have something left later in the race. Maybe when everybody's strung out a little bit, he can pick them out one by one instead of trying to do all 4 at one go, as he will have to at the moment. And Jörg Müller, shoved out by Larini, did not defend the inside line well enough. Larini has gone by him. Jörg Müller, there's no comeback from that, I don't think. Giovanardi's gone through as well, as we see from the onboard camera. Jörg Müller 1st to 4th, or 2nd to 5th rather. Dirk Müller now in front of Larini and Giovanardi, and somebody's wheel arch throwing off lots of marble debris there, lots of big lumps of rubber coming off it as they went through the double left-hander Le Mans. Look at Giovanardi, Larini rather, up the hill behind Dirk Müller. And this must make Gerhard Berger weep as much as his drivers. To see a red car just drive by you on horsepower, it's almost like Formula 1 again. Giovanardi 4th then. Dirk Müller sliding a little. Now, you know, at Brno, it was very impressive just how tight a line the Volvos were able to keep compared to the Alphas when Rydell was battling with Giovanardi. But I'm so impressed by how tight a line the Alphas can take through the corners as the BMWs slide wide. You don't expect that front drive versus rear drive car, particularly when the front driver has got more horsepower. Giovanardi then, behind Müller, as Larini is up to 2nd. So Muller fighting a losing battle against the Nord Auto cars. And Paolo Ruberti, the team must be giving him the Forza or hurry up or whatever board. Get out of it, clear off before Giovanardi and Larini get by these pesky BMs, as Giovanardi has now done. No, he hasn't, because Muller was on the inside line. We couldn't see him. Giovanardi pushing his way, just a little tap on the tail of Muller's car there, enough to help keep the BMW unstabilized. Muller on the inside, and can Jörg Muller come back down inside him? Yes, he can. Giovanardi will have the advantage out of Le Mans, though, because the next one's the right-hander. And Giovanardi under pressure. Now, this is very much what the BMW drivers need to do. Great stuff from Jörg Muller. Very positive thinking from his point of view. Toe down the straight behind the Alfa. Use the power of the Alfa to help pull him along, and then try and muscle in on his axe. Now, again, alongside Dirk Muller through Ascari, but you saw Giovanardi aiming for the apex and taking the line. That meant he was ahead. Giovanardi up into third. Dirk and Jörg Muller fourth and fifth places. Paolo Ruberti leads for Alfa Romeo. Second place, Nicola Larini for Alfa Romeo. Third place, Fabrizio Giovanardi for Alfa Romeo. And the only fly in the ointment is that Paolo Ruberti is racing for the AGS Motorsport team, not Nord Auto GTA, as far as Monica Sips is concerned. Dirk and Jörg. I think Jörg Muller in fifth place wants to go by. Dirk Muller, incidentally, you can tell with a red windscreen strip below or behind his name. And that's the way to spot them. They're Dirk Muller with the red and Jörg Muller with the black strip below the white of the edge of the roof. So, Paolo Ruberti. Pressure on him now, but he has been most impressive this season in the AGS car. And as I was saying in race one, work on the car has found them, well, maybe not a secret, but a secret that the Nord Auto team weren't sharing, and that's that the camber setup is oh so critical. They were probably pretty much aware of that. It's a front drive race car after all. Front drive touring cars are notoriously hard on their tyres. Camber caster, kingpin inclination is also critical. But the AGS team have made a big step forward, and it shows. Paolo Ruberti watching in his mirrors, trying to judge in that tiny little bit of vibrating glass how much and how quickly he is being caught by the Nord Auto GTA cars. And look at him locking up there, under braking into Portago. Up the hill again and over the rise at Bugatti. Over the rise, heading down at least to Bugatti. This is Bugatti corner, down into Peggio. Well, he is being reeled in quickly, isn't he, from the lead that he had earlier on over the BMWs, Giovanardi and Larini. Was that a place change? Did they just swap out of Peggio into Monza? Let's have a look. No, Larini still second, Giovanardi third. I thought with the way that they were on opposite sides of the track, there had been a swap there. I would be very surprised that Larini had been asked to already start moving over for Giovanardi. The championship is a long way from over. Lord, here we go. I suppose it is keep the sponsors happy. However, we'd like to see the insets when we're watching some other battle. That would be very nice. Maybe an onboard camera with a view of the outside. There's Tommy Rustad all on his own. Incidentally, here that Gianni Morbidelli is in the pit lane. He is done and dusted for the day in the Carli Motorsport entry. So, Nicola Larini now right on the tail of Paolo Ruberti. Giovanardi right with him as well, with the fastest lap. Nothing to choose between the two red cars, but they are both lapping quicker and considerably so than Paolo Ruberti. He's lost a second in the last lap. Ruberti will certainly start to feel pressure now if he hasn't already. He'll be building up a good sweat inside his racing overalls. Culprit temperature's pretty high here. Oh, and Larini immediately starts to make his impression by punting Ruberti up the backside, unsettling the car into the downhill hairpin, and trying to make the move as a result of that. Well, Ruberti, I feel, will be fully within his rights just to slap Larini in the middle of the corner there, but he runs out wide. Larini goes through, that time without the tap. Ruberti clearly not in as quick a car, And I'm afraid that if I was clerk of the course or one of the stewards, Larini would be up in front of me and would lose that position, because that is the sort of cynical tap and pass that is so easy to do and impossible to guard against, and is just frankly absolutely unnecessary when you're in what is clearly a faster car. Well, Roberti locks up a little. Larini on the brakes will argue, oh, well, he braked earlier and couldn't slow down, and I couldn't avoid hitting him, but I'm sorry, that was a cynical tap and pass, and it's absolutely not necessary. Giovanardi has driven past him on the straight, which Larini could so easily have done. Larini starting to get desperate, though, in terms of his position in the championship vis-a-vis Giovanardi, and unfortunately, well, we saw last year at this track, Nicola Larini needlessly and completely needlessly punt off the Honda of Gabriele Tarquini from second place when Giovanardi was already well clear on his way to victory and the championship. Larini just took him out because he could. So Larini leads, Giovanardi second, Roberti third. A little pan back will show us that the BMWs are still fourth and fifth. Dirk Müller and Jörg Müller fourth and fifth respectively. So again, that team battle will swing in favour of Dirk Müller in this race, and he will continue to increase his points lead over his teammates. But whoa, Giovanardi getting very out of shape there, and I was just about to point out that Jörg Müller is all over the back of Dirk Müller. Giovanardi, well, not lucky to hold on to that one, held on to that one, definitely, but it shows how hard that he is pushing against Nicola Larini. He wants another victory, doesn't want to let Larini have his second win of the season. Nobody who is not in a red car has won yet this year. Not saying that nobody who's not in a red car hasn't led, but no red car has yet won in the European Touring Car. No non-red car has yet won in the, you know what I'm saying. So it's one win for Larini and 6 wins for Giovanardi from the 7 races. Now, will it become 2 and 6 in race 8? Apologies, incidentally, for the lack of graphics. Nothing we can do about, or nothing I can do about that. Just have to take the positions as you see them. Larini, Giovanardi, Roberti, the 2 Müllers, then Freddie Ekblom now up into 6th position. So we'll keep an eye on that little battle. Peter Cox, of course, starting the race from pole by virtue of finishing in 6th place in race 1. But, well, a bigger ham-fisted effort at start I think we've yet to see from pole position this year. The BMW driver, despite the advantage of being rear drive, just couldn't hang it up properly away from the line. Roberti under pressure now from the BMW, so will be in 2 or 3 turns time. And look, Jörg Müller does want to get past Dirk Müller for his own good as well as for the good of BMW. Wants to make the move and move up into 4th place. Feels he could be quicker, clearly, but I think he may have to allow Dirk Müller to deal with Roberti unhindered, maybe open the door and allow Jörg to come through behind him. And if Jörg stays nose to tail with Dirk on the straight, they will both pick up Roberti's toe and should both be able to get past him. Vital to be line astern through tunnel to the straight. Roberti just out of distance, I think, for both of them to get by. Dirk Müller will pick up the toe, Jörg will pick up a toe off Dirk. But again, the Alfa just easing itself away, not quite close enough. One more lap will do it. They'll both be in position to challenge. Larini from Giovanardi is the situation at the moment out front. And there's the battle for 3rd. I think Roberti unlikely to finish on the podium. Dirk and Jörg all too punchy and pointy behind him. I think Roberti is struggling now for tyre. Maybe they have over-cambered the front end of his Alfa, got more grip, got more speed in the corners, in the tight stuff, but maybe at the expense of shoulder wear, particularly on that outside left-hand shoulder. Well, Roberti holding on. The uphill section, you'd expect that, climbing up to Ascari, flicking through the right and then downhill through the left-hander. Now the BMWs have got him in their territory, if you like. This is downhill where power doesn't count. It's tight and twisty on the brakes, changing direction while braking. That's where the BMW has its advantage. Going down through Bugatti and into Peggio, the lock-up, the telltale tyre smoke as Roberti and his tyres are at odds. They don't want to slow the car down as much as he is insisting on. And Roberti washing out a little wide in the entry to the corner there as well. Now Dirk Muller is ideally placed. Jürgen Muller really should be right up behind him if he can to get onto the straight in the toe, but he's not. But Dirk Muller is. Dirk Muller going for third place now. Down the straight, he's towing Paolo Roberti. Roberti's engine is helping the BMW come down the straight, but Dirk Muller's still not pulled out of the slipstream, and he won't get around the outside this time. Well, that was good defensive driving by Roberti. Dirk Muller just getting on the power. You see the way the BMW hooks up under acceleration, bumping into the back of Roberti's car. And now Dirk Muller, having tried so hard to outbrake Roberti, is in the clutches of teammate Jörg. Roberti, though, way off the line into Le Mans, can afford to be. He needs a tight exit. He needs to be good and strong out of here, out of Farina, up the hill. So Roberti survives in third place, ahead of the BMWs. Behind Freddie Ekblom, Cox and Genet, both in BMWs. K-Roll in his Alpha, then Hansen and Ferrier, last year teammates. And that's because Rydell is in the pits. Well, they said that the engine that they had put into the car was not as strong as the one that they had to take out because it was damaged in the shakedown before they came to Spain. And it looks as though next time out, Rickard Rydell will also be starting from the back of the grid because he will also be changing engines. Now, I don't know how the rule goes if you've blown it up as opposed to nearly blown it up or damaged it. Whatever, Rydell is out, and that's a massive hole in Volvo's challenge. A big, big problem for them. Now, onto the straight again. Roberti pulling both Schnitzer BMWs along behind him in the slipstream. Dirk Muller nearest to Roberti. Jürgen Muller then behind. But Roberti's just got the grunt to stay out of harm's way. Jürgen Muller's going for fourth around the outside of Dirk Muller. Knows that Dirk's going to have to go to the inside line to defend it and maybe box him in and get onto Roberti's. But Dirk Muller goes through. This is the chance for both BMWs. If Roberti can be kept out off the racing line by Dirk Muller, Jürg can go inside as well. He does. Jürg all over the curbs. Roberti has the inside line at Le Mans, but if Dirk Muller can sit around the outside, Jürg Muller can sit around the outside, the next one's a right-hander and he should get him. This is fourth for Jürg Muller. Yes, it is. So Dirk up to third, Jürg up to fourth, and as I said earlier on, if Dirk Muller could just get his nose inside Roberti, leave the Italian off the racing line, that would give Jürg Muller a chance as well, and that's exactly what happened. But Roberti's still fighting back. Larini leading now by 2 seconds and a bit from Giovanardi, on board with Gio. Highest point of the track here through Portago, named after a great Spanish sportsman, Alfonso de Portago, Formula One driver, sports car driver, all-round sportsman, and including Winter Games special as well. A great bobsledder as well in his time was Fon. Out of Peggio and up to Monza. Again over the ridge and plumping down into Monza. And then up again out of the little bowl-like parabola that is Monza. Tunnel turn, down the hill we go once more. And on the sun-baked plains just north of Madrid, northwest of Madrid, this Jarama circuit, a real challenging racing driver's circuit. So race leader is still Nicola Larini, and it does start to look like win number 2 for him. Fabrizio Giovanardi in second place, the BMWs third and fourth, and long-time leader Paolo Roberti relegated to 5th spot. But the AGS driver can certainly hold his head up high here. Freddie Ekblom in 6th place, and it's still Dirk and Jörg in that order. Jörg Muller still all over the back of Dirk Muller, but the ex-Porsche star stays ahead of the long-time BMW contracted driver. So the two of them have been racing in the American Le Mans Series, Dirk and Jörg, for the last 3 seasons, while Giovanardi and Larini have been racing in Europe in Alfa Romeo front-wheel drive touring cars. The last 2 seasons in the Euro STC, and this year in the European Touring Car Championship, the 155 Super Tourer, the car very different in nature and in form from this GTA European Touring Car chassis, but still all critical front-wheel drive experience. And in the last few years, Dirk Muller's been driving Porsche 911 GT3R and RS's, and then BMW V8 front-engine rear-wheel drive American Le Mans car. Dirk Muller has Jörg Muller rather has been driving Le Mans prototypes with their V12 engines for 2 seasons, and then last year into the V8 as well. So really an adaptation for those two, much more so than for the Alfa drivers, to this series. Learning new tracks, of course, for the drivers and the Schnitzer team, and still ding-dong battle going on as they start the last lap for 3rd position. Dirk Muller determined to hold on. Clearly no team orders being issued from Charlie Lamb. In fact, Charlie Lamb really only ever has one team order, and that's don't mess up. Don't hit your teammate, don't run out of gas, don't root the tyres when you don't need to. I trust you to be grown-up drivers, don't let me down, and they very rarely do. Well, Nicola Larini then halfway around, on his way to victory in race 8 in the European Touring Car Championship for 2002. It'll be his 2nd win of the season, and will do a little, at least, to close down the 26-point margin that is the deficit between him and series points leader and the likely runner-up in this race, Fabrizio Giovanardi. Larini, again in this race, aggressive. Criticised him for his attack on Ruberti as needless, and I still stick by that. I don't think he needed to be quite so cynical. He was, in fact, in a quicker car and was ahead of his only real rival, as he sees it, Giovanardi. No need to punt poor Ruberti up the backside, but he did nonetheless, and that's how he took the lead. Everybody else has managed to get past Ruberti on talent alone, but Nicola Larini, nonetheless, is going to be the winner of race 8 in the championship. Giovanardi in 2nd spot, Dirk and Jörg Muller 3rd and 4th. And again, looking at the timesheets at the end, we'll show them a couple of seconds back, whereas they were never more than a couple of tenths apart throughout the race. 5th place then for Paolo Ruberti, and I think Fredrik Ekblom we will find coming across the line still in 6th place. James Hansen down in 10th spot ahead of Tom Ferrier. Good little battle between the two of them, but, well, Ricard Rydell will be very disappointed with this weekend. What's going on between those two there? Was that Giovanardi just right up behind Larini, so that all that Nicola could see was the visor of the helmet behind him, or the eye slit of the helmet behind him? Or was he actually just giving him a little push out of the corner just to make sure that he doesn't forget in this moment of glory that Gio is there? Well, there is the top half dozen. Oh dear, no, on the last lap then, Paolo Ruberti in trouble, dropping out of the top 6. Ekblom and Cox finishing 5th and 6th, unseen by us.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live with
Yokohama, power of performance. Yokohama, power of performance.
And who records your favorite TV program? The digital video recorder from LG. Makes time-slave viewing easy. On a screen extremely thin and extremely wide. Because life's too short to waste time. LG, digitally yours.
A drop.
An oil drop.
A drop that works and wins. A likable, inexhaustible drop.
A drop that protects.
That leaps. A drop that laughs, that travels.
A drop that aims high.
FL Selenia, fluids and lubricants.
The LG Super Racing Weekend live. With LG Electronics, digitally yours.
8 races, 8 wins for Alfa Romeo in the FIA European Touring Car Championship 2002, but it's only the second for Nicola Larini. It is, however, the second 1-2 finish for Nordauto GTA Racing here at Jarama this weekend. Giovanardi first, ahead of Larini in race 1. The order reversed in race 2 as they were in reverse order on the grid. Third and fourth again, Dirk and Jörg Müller in the Schnitzer BMWs. Fifth and sixth, more BMWs.
Race, and you won it. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed. Good start. Nice fighting with BMW in front of me. And then I lost my left mirror. I couldn't see who was in my left side. So it was a little bit fight with other yellow Alpha, but no problems.
Do you think that BMW, they're going to get better in the season?
This is a circuit better for them. I think now we have like quite 1 month free time, so maybe they develop the car to be faster this next one.
Thank you very much.
Always good to know when the interviews are coming up. So Nicola Larini, lost his left rear view mirror, so had trouble seeing the Alfa ahead of him, and that's why he hit it, I imagine. There you go. Back to 20 points then, the difference between Giovanardi and Larini. They move further ahead of Dirk Müller in third, Jörg Müller in fourth. Rydell failed to score here, I'm afraid. Still in fifth place, though. James Hansen and Paolo Roberti now tied on 5 points in sixth spot. Tom Coronel gets a point, so does Villamil, so does Peter Cox. And there, Monica Sips on the right-hand side, congratulating her driver. Another great weekend for her and her team, the GTA Nordauto Alphas, first and second in both races. And Romana Bernardoni, her car trying not to start, but they even managed to get that out, force it out of the pit lane, and got it into the race. Well, that's it then from the European Touring Car Championship from Jarama. Don't forget, later on this evening, you'll be able to catch up with the FIA GT race. And that run in blistering temperatures as well, going to be very demanding for the drivers. Well, there you can see quite clearly Larini with both mirrors attached to the Alfa as he punted him up the backside and drove past him. So Larini's excuse not holding water whatsoever. Well, here is the Circuito de Jarama, just a 30-minute drive from Madrid in Spain. Baking conditions for 2 exciting European Touring Car Championship races. Neither as good, though, I think, perhaps as the ones we saw at Silverstone or at Brno. But there is, as Nicola said, another month before the next race, just about. That might give the BMWs a chance to develop the cars a little. Well, let's have a look at the FIA GT race then. Tonight at 6 on British Eurosport, 1900 Central European Time. And again, the 3-hour format will have a vicious battle between the Vipers and the Listers and the Ferraris in the GT class. And it'll be Ferrari Porsche in the NGT category. Who will survive the heat and the hijinks? Find out with me. We start our coverage at 6 this evening, British Eurosport, 7 Central European Time. Till then, from me, Martin Haven, it's bye for now. Cheerio.